This lesson is going to be on types of two angles. The first type of two angles is when two straight lines intersect. And it actually gives you four angles. When two lines intersect to make angles, it can look like this. It can look like this. They can look like that. It doesn't matter as long as two straight lines intersect or meet at one point to make four angles here. When this happens, these are called vertical angles. When you have vertical angles, opposite angles are equal. So that means that this angle should be the same as this angle, and that this angle should have the same degrees as this angle. And you can see it as I make them look different. You can tell that as I move them, these two opposite angles change in the same way. Later we're going to draw and measure these out to prove that, but for right now, this is a vertical angle. The second type of angle is when you have a set of two angles that when they are together, their outside legs form a straight angle. Now a straight angle is 180 degrees. This isn't quite a straight angle. There we go. When you look at your protractor, you can tell because this would be where one is, comes all the way around to 90. If it were to make a straight line, it would be 180. So a straight line is actually an angle that is 180 degrees. Now we can see that these two angles added together, their outside legs together make a straight angle. If they move apart, it doesn't matter if they're exactly touching, as long as the two legs, they add up together to be 180 degrees. Now, you can have this. This is also a straight angle. This is also a straight angle. This would be a straight angle. It doesn't matter which way they're facing. It could be upside down, as long as the degrees here plus the degrees in the second angle together add up to 180 degrees. These are called supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are when two angles add up to 180 degrees, or a straight angle. The third type that we have is when two angles together make a 90-degree angle. So we remember that a 90-degree angle is a right angle. So if I have this angle and this angle, together we can see that they equal a right angle, 90 degrees. That is called complementary angles. Now, one thing to notice about a complementary angle, if a right angle is 90 degrees, you have to have two acute angles. You can't have any obtuse angles, because obtuse angles are bigger than 90 degrees. But again, all of these would count as complementary angles. You could even, if I can move this like this, this still counts as a complementary angle, even if there's space in between here, because it's this angle plus this angle. They both add up to a right angle, and that is a complementary angle. The last angle to talk about is when you have any angle and it gets split in the middle by a line. Now, if this were a right angle and it's 90 degrees, a bisector would have to come through at exactly half of 90 degrees, which would be 45 degrees, because we know that half of 90 is 45. So using your protractor, you would measure out a 45-degree angle, and your bisector would be one line going through exactly even. Let's say I don't have a right angle though. Let's say that I have an 80-degree angle. So there's my 80. I line it up at the vertex. I can move this over to 80. We'll put that in the middle. Well, what's half of 80? It's 40. So my bisector would have to come right through the 40, right here. I'll put that underneath. So this is the best I can, I guess. A bisector. It looks like it's two angles. A bisector cuts one angle into two even pieces, but it's not like where your vertical angles, you have two lines that make four, or your supplementary and complementary where you have two separate angles. Now, how would you draw this, and what can you do for this work? So, you take your handy dandy piece of paper, pencil, and your protractor. The first thing you need to remember is you must use a straight edge to draw your lines. Otherwise, you are not going to get correct results. So again, name, I'll title this just angles. And I'm going to start off with vertical angles. We remember that these are vertical angles. So I'll put vertical angles. I just need to draw any two lines that I like. Lines have arrows on the end to show that they go on forever. I put in my vertex, the middle, or a point, and now I just draw a second one, however I like, with a straight edge. That's about as even as I can make it. Put my arrows in there. Now I want to label my four angles. We'll make that one A, B, C, and D. Then I want to measure each angle and see if it's true that opposites are equal. So take my protractor. I'll do A first. I line my vertex up with this circle and see how I have to line up my leg here. And this one, it looks like it's somewhere in between 50 and 60, but I didn't quite make it long enough. So that's very easy to fix. You'll find this happens a lot. So all you want to do is extend your line even further. So we'll need to make nice, long angles. So now I have two numbers I can choose from, but this is obviously an acute angle, so I know it's going to be the smaller number. It looks like it's right about 55. So this angle here is 55 degrees. So now I'll try C, and if I've done it right, then it should be about 55 degrees. So I line up my vertex and make sure my straight line is there. Yep, is it on there? I can see that I have two little lines there. And if I follow this line, it's right at 55. So this also is 55 degrees. Now, B and D, they sure do look awfully close, very similar. So let's measure it to be sure. You can't just guess. We really need to know. So there's my vertex. I line it up at my bottom leg, and if I extend this out, it's obtuse, so it's going to be somewhere in between 120 and 130, and we'll make it 125. And let's see if angle D is also 125. So I line up my vertex and my leg, and yes, I can see that it's at 125. So that is how you would draw the vertical angles. I would go one step further and add up all these numbers and see what you get every single time you do this. So this is how you would draw vertical angles. Now, to draw supplementary angles, I'll come down here for supplementary angles. Supplementary angles. Whoops. Now remember, supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees to make a straight line. So to make it easy on yourselves, the first thing I would do is make my straight line so I know where my 180 degrees is. And we'll make this one nice and long so we know the protractor works. And I'll put this right in here. Now I just need to do a little bit of math. I know that if I have 180 degrees, my two numbers have to add up to it. So I line up my vertex right here with my two lines here. Let's say I'm going to put a dot right here. If I look here, the acute angle from here to here is 70 degrees. That means that this obtuse angle here is 110 degrees. And you can see that the acute is the smaller number and the obtuse is the bigger number. So I've drawn my point here, and now I just need to connect my lines, my dots to make a line. Whoops, it's hard with this pencil. There we go. So this one was 70 degrees, and this angle was 110 degrees. And I know that 110 plus 70 does equal 80. So once you draw your straight line, if you just draw in one line for your angles, you'll be able to tell what the two are. And if you want to double check, you can see here, this one is 70, and this one goes up to 110. That is how you draw supplementary angles. We'll flip this over to do complementary angles on the back. Great. We remember that at complementary angles, they add up to 90 degrees to a right angle. So let's draw a right angle. To do this, I'm going to make a mark where my 90 degrees is, and here. This is my vertex, and I will connect my two. This way I know it's a 90-degree angle. Also, when you have a 90-degree angle, this is the symbol you use to let people know that it's a 90-degree angle. So now I just need to pick any angle within the 90 degrees. If I look here, let's say I want to make 130. So I'll make a notch here. Now, if this angle is 30, I just need the leftover space. 90 take away or minus this 30 leaves me 60 for here. And I could also go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So now I know that this is divided that this one is 30 degrees and this one here is 60 degrees. And I know that they add up to be a right angle. That's how you draw complementary angles. To do a bisector, you can pick any angle you like. I recommend you choose an angle that is an even number. Let's take something pretty easy. Let's do 100. We know what half of 100 is. So first thing I'll do is draw my line, my vertex. I'll put this right here, and here's 100. So now I can draw my second leg of my angle, or side of my angle, and I know that this is 100 degrees. Well, half of 100 is 50. So I simply line up my vertex with my leg, and find 50. And I know that's going to be half. It's going to bisect. So that's how you make a bisector. So on your own, draw, label, and make as many of these as you can. You can turn them into a book, do a large chart, try to do as many different types of vertical angles and supplementary, complementary, and bisectors as you can. And that is the lesson.